Bell was the weakest lonely loser adventurer, and nobody wants him. But one day, he unlocked his most powerful SS rank skill and ended up with a harem, like Dan Bilzerian. One day, he tries to escape from a powerful monster in a dungeon but ends up at a dead end and thinks he got fucked. The monster is about to finish off the terrified Bell when a beautiful lady named Eyes, known as the Sword Princess for her incredible skills, suddenly appears and sends the monster to the afterlife, leaving Bell in shock. After this, he hurries to find Aina to ask about the girl who just saved him. Aina scolds him for going to the 5th level of the dungeon alone, saying he's lucky to be alive after encountering a monster as a level 1 adventurer. When he asks if she knows anything about the girl, Aina quickly notices he's already blushing. She informs him that Eyes is a level 5 adventurer from the Loki Familia and one of the city's strongest swordsmen. However, she teases that Eyes don't hang around losers. Feeling heartbroken, he goes to exchange the magic stones he earned for money. After this, Aina tries to cheer him up, saying that girls like strong, confident guys, and if he gets stronger, Eyes might notice him one day. As he leaves, he remembers his grandfather's words that real adventurers win the hearts of girls in the dungeon. With renewed determination, he resolves to do his best. He returns home to see his goddess with big melons, Hestia, who becomes worried when she hears that a monster attacked him. He reassures her, promising never to leave her alone and helpless since he's the only member of her familia. She then offers him her rice cakes, hinting that she won't let him get any sleep tonight. Tell me in the comment, guys, what they are talking about. Later that night, after checking Bell's abilities, he notices his agility has significantly improved. Hestia speculates it's because he faced a minotaur but keeps it a secret that he's gained a skill called Raleigh's Phrase, which boosts his growth as long as his emotions stay strong. She's a bit jealous that this change happened because of another bitch. The next day, on his way to the dungeon, Bell meets a girl named Sir, who convinces him to promise to eat at their pub later that night. He heads to the dungeon and, after defeating some monsters, he encounters many more terrifying creatures, which scare him. However, remembering Eyes, he decides to fight. This bravery causes his ability scores to increase significantly, making Hestia jealous as she believes it's because he likes Eyes. Later that night, Bell visits the pub as he promised. Thinking he'd get free food, he's shocked to see the bill exceeds his life savings. Trying to save face in front of Sir, he acts cool, pretending to be rich as fuck. Some moments later, a group from the Loki Familia shows up at the pub, and Bell is shocked to see his crush, Eyes. He watches her interact with her friends, and Sir informs him that they come there regularly, making him think about visiting more often. Unfortunately, one of the guys starts talking about the incident in the dungeon and mocks the boy Eyes had saved. Feeling ashamed, Bell runs out without paying his bill. Eyes is surprised and wonders if this is the boy she met in the dungeon. Bell heads straight to the dungeon to vent his anger on the monsters, determined to become stronger. The next day, when he returns home and meets Hestia, he tells her he wants to get stronger. She performs a fucking session. Sorry guys, I mean a ritual session on him as usual, and to their surprise, his abilities are increasing rapidly. Hestia wonders if she should tell him about his skill but decides to keep it secret since other gods might be watching. She reveals that his status is improving at an enormous rate and assures him she'll help him become stronger, but only if he promises not to do anything reckless and never leave her alone. The lonely boy vows to do his best and stay by her side. Hestia then tells him she'll be heading out of town for a few days, surprising him. Bell immediately heads back to the pub to pay his bill and apologize. Meanwhile, Hestia attends the banquet of the gods, where she meets Hephaestus and begs her to make a weapon for Bell. Hephaestus initially refuses, but Hestia persists, refusing to give up. Hephaestus asks why she's so determined, and Hestia explains that she wants to help Bell become stronger since she's been unable to support him in any significant way despite his unwavering support for her. She wants to create a weapon to help him achieve his goals. Moved by Hestia's dedication, Hephaestus agrees to fulfill the request but warns that Hestia will still need to pay for it, even if it takes her decades or centuries to do so. Meanwhile, Bell returns from one of his adventures and meets a girl who hands him Sir's wallet, asking him to return it to her. He learns that Sir has gone to Monsterphilia, and he wonders what that is. The girl explains that it is a huge festival held once a year by the Ganesha Familia, where monsters captured in the dungeon are brought out to fight against selected contestants in front of a crowd. Hephaestus finishes making the weapon and gives it to Hestia, who immediately heads out to deliver it to Bell. She finds him in the market while he's looking for Sir, surprising him. Excited to see him again, she asks him out on a date. A few moments later, she offers him her cream, but he declines and gives her something else instead. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman enters the dungeon and frees some monsters, which immediately start attacking the city. One monster appears near Belle and Hestia, and upon seeing Hestia, it suddenly attempts to attack her. Belle quickly grabs her and starts running, wondering why the monster is targeting her. As they try to escape, the monster catches up and almost attacks Hestia, but Belle lunges at it and strikes with his sword. Unfortunately, the sword shatters, and the monster knocks him away. It tries to attack him again, but he quickly uses a substance to blind it, allowing them to escape. As he runs with Hestia, Belle realizes he's too weak to protect her. He decides to separate from her to buy her some time to escape, not wanting to lose his only family again. He recalls the painful memory of receiving news that his grandfather had been killed by a monster when he was young, which inspired him to become an adventurer. However, no familia would accept him because he was too weak, until Hestia suddenly appeared one day and offered to accept him. Meanwhile, Lord Gainshall learns that 9 monsters have escaped into the city, causing chaos. He instructs his people to inform the other familias to help handle the situation, while he continues with the festival as planned. Belle's weapon shatters as he fights the monster, and Hestia worries about how to get the new weapon she made to him. She remembers Hephaestos explaining that the hieroglyphics carved into the knife give it its own status, allowing it to grow stronger alongside its user. Belle continues to fight the monster, barely dodging its attacks. He wonders if Hestia managed to get away and thinks about Eyes for a moment. However, he suddenly sees Hestia and becomes shocked and concerned that she came back to him. The monster immediately tries to attack her, but he quickly saves her and asks why she returned. She reminds him of his promise to never leave her. As they talk, the monster appears again, and Belle quickly carries Hestia to a safe place, hidden from the monster. While he worries that the monster might still catch up with them, Hestia tries to motivate him, but he tells her to stop since his weapon is useless. She then shows him the weapon she got him, calling it the Hestia knife, and promises that it will bring him victory. Meanwhile, Eyes is having the time of her life fighting monsters. She is informed that there's just one left, which was last seen chasing an ugly boy. Hestia performs her ritual as usual, updating Belle's status and activating the Hestia knife. Once she completes the process, Belle launches himself towards the monster. As it nearly hits him, he leaps into the air, dodging its attack. Hestia cheers him on from the side as he continues to evade the monster's furious attacks. Belle soon charges head-on and plunges the knife into the monster's heart, defeating the ugly creature. Seeing this, the people who had been hiding suddenly appear to celebrate his victory. Hestia suddenly collapses from exhaustion, and when she later wakes up, Belle asks her where she got the knife. After she tells him the story, he gets emotional and starts to cry as she pats him, reassuring him that he can always rely on her. After all of this, guys, only God and Editor knows what happened between them. Following that, Belle heads over to meet Ina at the guild to request access to the 7th floor. She initially thinks he's crazy, as he was nearly killed on the 5th floor the previous day. However, he defends himself, stating that he's gotten stronger since then and a bunch of his basic abilities are already at rank E, shocking her. She checks his status and realizes it's true, so she permits him to go to the 7th floor. However, she notes that he lacks suitable armor and decides to take him shopping the next day. When they arrive at the Hephaestos Familia shop in Babel, Belle is shocked and worried, thinking he's too broke to afford the expensive items they sell. Ina tells him to act confident as they walk through the shopping mall. Belle sees some insanely expensive stuff that he couldn't afford even with his life savings in 50 years. To his surprise, Hestia appears to attend to them, revealing she works there part-time. Ina soon takes him to the more affordable section, showing that the Hephaestos Familia also caters to people with less money. Belle finds an armor set he can afford. Then, Ina suggests that he hire a supporter to assist him in his dungeon raids to make his exploring more effective. Belle replies that he will think about it. After a while, as they part ways, Ina gives Belle a small present, expressing her concern for his safety. Later, as he returns home, he suddenly bumps into a young girl fleeing from a rough-looking rogue. The rogue attempts to attack her, but Belle quickly unsheathes his knife and blocks the attack. The rogue becomes angry and almost starts a fight, warning Belle to stay out of his way, but the city guard intervenes just in time. Belle turns to check on the young girl but finds she has disappeared. The next day, as he heads to the dungeon, he notices other adventurers with supporters and recalls Ina's suggestion. Suddenly, the little girl from the previous day appears and asks if he wants to hire a supporter. While talking with her, he discovers her name is Lily from the Soma Familia and agrees to try her out for one adventure to see if she's suitable. In the dungeon, he easily defeats all the monsters he faces and is excited that having a supporter helps him focus on fighting. Lily notices the knife he carries and asks about it. Bell, the naive idiot, immediately shares the backstory of how he got it. He proudly attaches the Hestia knife to his clothes, and Lily asks for his help with a task later. After selling the treasures they collected in the dungeon, Bell turns to leave, but Ina suddenly notices that his knife is missing from its usual place and calls his attention to it. Meanwhile, Lily takes the knife to a buyer who doesn't appraise it accurately and offers her a very low price. She leaves feeling sad, wondering why the knife is valued so low. As she walks, Ryu is surpassed by her. Ryu notices that Lily is trying to hide a familiar knife and stops her. Although Lily tries to deny it, Ryu exposes her, saying she knows only one person with hieroglyphics carved into his knife. Lily tries to escape but bumps into Bell, who is searching for his knife. He sees her and Ryu and asks if they've seen it. Ryu hands the knife back to Bell, explaining that she found it with a girl but refuses to reveal Lily's identity. The next day, Bell takes Lily to the dungeon again. Grateful for the opportunity, she thanks him. She notices that he no longer stores his sword in the usual place, and he shows her that it's now safely tucked under his armor. After a profitable day, they make a considerable amount of money. To Lily's surprise, Bell splits the earnings equally with her, making her think he's quite unusual. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, the same woman who released the monsters earlier stands up in her room and picks a strange book from her shelf, deciding to mess with Bell to unlock his hidden power. With his increased earnings, Bell invites Hestia out on a date. Hestia hurries to the Divine Bathhouse to freshen up. There, she encounters Demeter, another goddess, who realizes Hestia has a date and teases her, causing Hestia to leave quickly in embarrassment. She meets Bell at their designated spot. Just as they are about to enjoy their time together, other goddesses from the bathhouse appear and interrupt them. Demeter admits they followed Hestia to see who she was meeting. She then grabs Bell and smothers his face in her chest, irritating Hestia. Hestia quickly pulls Bell away, and they run from the pursuing goddesses. Eventually, Bell and Hestia manage to lose them and they have to find a place to clap all night, if you know guys what I mean. Meanwhile, a gang of thugs confronts Lily and robs her of her money. Despite this setback, she is determined to escape as soon as she pays off her debt and gets hold of the Hestia knife. The next day, Ina hears about a guy from the Soma Familia who got into a brawl with a money changer, and wonders why they are always so desperate. While Bell is fighting monsters in the dungeon, he is almost attacked, but Lily uses a magical item to save him, surprising him with its power. The following day, Bell decides to take a break and meets her to ask what she does on her days off. She suggests reading and lends him a magical book that a customer left behind. As Bell reads through the book, he has a strange magical experience. Hestia returns and finds him asleep. She wakes him up and checks his status, discovering he can now use a spell called Firebolt, which excites him. She explains that his magic is unique because it doesn't require an incantation. She suggests he try it out in the dungeon the next day, but Bell sneaks out that night to test his new magic. He incinerates several monsters but soon collapses from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Eyes and Reveria, who are also in the dungeon, return from their own adventure and find him unconscious. Eyes, wanting to make up for their previous encounter, gently pats him. He wakes up, initially thinking it's his mother, but when he realizes it's Eyes, he becomes flustered and runs away, leaving her confused. The next morning, while brooding over his lack of courage, Hestia notices the book he was reading and realizes it's a grimoire, a book that grants magical abilities based on the reader's latent potential. She asks where he got it, and he explains that Sir gave it to him, saying someone had left it behind. Hestia is disappointed and tells him that a grimoire loses its power once read, reminding him that he can't afford such a book. She advises him to deny ever reading it, but Bell decides to return it to the pub and apologize anyway. Later that morning, Bell goes to meet Lily and notices someone bothering her. He steps in to help, but the same thug from before blocks him and makes an inappropriate offer, which Bell quickly rejects. Lily returns and reflects on her painful past, where she was bullied and abused by adventurers after losing her parents, which led to her deep resentment towards them. Meanwhile, Ina, concerned for Bell, meets with goddess Loki and the Loki Familia to inquire about the Soma Familia. Loki explains that the Soma Familia produces a special wine, distinct from the low-quality version they sell to the public. When Familia members taste this superior wine, they become addicted and desperate for money, willing to do anything to obtain more. Back at Bell's home, Hestia and Bell talk about Lily. Hestia points out that there might be something suspicious about Lily, suggesting she could have stolen his knife when he thought he lost it. Later, in the dungeon, Lily cleverly persuades Bell to venture to the 10th floor, claiming that he's much stronger now and it won't be an issue. Naively, Bell thinks it's a good idea, despite almost dying on the 7th floor the previous day, and agrees to her plan. Meanwhile, Ina is conducting an inspection at Babel and is worried about Belle. Suddenly, she spots Eyes and approaches her to express gratitude for saving the adventurer she oversees. Eyes is taken aback when she realizes Ina is referring to Belle. During their conversation, they overhear some adventurers talking about how Lily plans to betray Belle. Ina begs Eyes to help save him. On the 10th floor, Belle encounters a giant orc that attacks him. He charges at the beast and defeats it with a few strikes. As another orc appears, he uses Firebolt to take it down. Suddenly, a horde of orcs emerges and begins to overwhelm him. He calls out for Lily but realizes she's gone. To his shock, he discovers that Lily has stolen his weapon and abandoned him. As Lily tries to escape the dungeon, her usual tormentor intercepts her, but other adventurers join in and bully her too. She attempts to run away but finds herself in an even worse situation. The adventurers take her belongings and throw her into a group of monsters to use her as a decoy. As she faces her imminent doom, Belle suddenly appears, using his magic to obliterate the monsters and fend off the remaining ones, shocking Lily. Belle, who had already resolved to help her regardless of her past, tells her that she reminds him of his own loneliness before he met Hestia. Lily is amazed and asks how he managed to escape from the 10th floor. Belle explains that an unknown adventurer came to his aid after she left, allowing him to come and rescue her in time. Lily becomes furious and calls Belle an idiot for coming back for her after everything she did to him. She starts confessing all her wrongdoings, questioning why he still chose to save her. Belle responds that it's because of who she truly is, bringing her to tears. The next day, expecting to be abandoned, she is surprised when Belle meets her again and offers his support, giving her another chance. He takes her to his home and introduces her to Hestia, who explains the rules of the Hestia Familia. Belle then visits the guild to meet Ina but is shocked to see her with Eyes. He immediately tries to flee, but Eyes stops him and Ina scolds him for being rude. Ina tells him that Eyes wants to talk to him. Belle soon realizes that Eyes was the adventurer who saved him on the 10th floor and thanks her profusely. Eyes compliments him for making it to the 10th floor so quickly. He admits he's still weak and far from reaching his goal. Surprising him, Eyes offers to train him, and they head to a training area. After training with Eyes, Belle and Lily return to the 10th floor of the dungeon. This time, Belle skillfully defeats the smaller monsters. When several orcs appear, Belle considers fleeing, but his supporter Lily suggests running away and regrouping. However, thinking of Eyes, Belle decides to fight, determined to overcome his fears. Training with Eyes continues, and she repeatedly defeats him until he passes out. When he regains consciousness, he quickly apologizes, and she asks how he gets stronger so quickly. Belle explains that he isn't strong yet, but there's someone he wants to catch up to and a place he wants to reach no matter what. Eyes tells him they are similar and suggests they practice after a nap. She immediately falls asleep as soon as she lies down, and Belle, feeling like a man of culture, he thinks of kissing her. He recalls his grandfather's words encouraging him but is reminded by his grandmother to be a gentleman. Just as he almost gives in to his grandfather's words, Eyes wakes up, preventing him from doing anything silly. They head out to grab a bite, and when they arrive at a food stall, Belle is surprised to see Hestia working there again, wondering just how many jobs she has. Hestia is mainly concerned about him wandering the streets with another girl. Later, Sir excitedly approaches Belle, expressing how much she's missed him, but she ends up handing him a bunch of dishes to wash. Lily joins him while he's cleaning up, offering to help. During their conversation, Belle discovers that she was once an adventurer. Curious, he asks her what it takes to level up, assuming it's just about defeating numerous monsters. She clarifies that he needs to do something even more challenging, specifically defeating a formidable foe. Belle then inquires about how he can accomplish such a feat, and she explains that mastering skills and tactics is key. He recalls Eyes telling him he needs improvement in both areas during their training sessions. Lily adds that leveling up often requires going on a significant adventure, which can vary greatly from person to person. The next day, Belle finishes his training with Eyes. As she leaves, he becomes determined to keep training until he can match her. The following morning, Belle hurriedly packs his gear, ready to join the Loki Familia on their expedition. As the adventure kicks off, Belle and Lily make their way to the 9th floor. They notice something unusual, as there are very few monsters around. Belle, still haunted by past experiences, remembers that this was the calm before the storm last time. While they proceed, a minotaur suddenly appears, startling them. Lily suggests they retreat immediately, but Belle is frozen in fear. The minotaur charges at them, and Lily quickly saves Belle, but she is knocked unconscious in the process. Belle places her in a safe spot before launching several magical attacks on the minotaur, but they seem to have little effect. Meanwhile, in another part of the dungeon, the Loki Familia receives an alert that a Minotaur has appeared on the 9th floor and is currently attacking a white-haired adventurer. Upon hearing this, Ais immediately rushes to the 9th floor. Belle is struggling against the monster, clearly outmatched by its strength. Lily regains consciousness, and to ensure her safety, Belle orders her to escape while he distracts the Minotaur. Despite his efforts, the monster soon lands a powerful hit, leaving Belle writhing in pain. Just then, Ais arrives and offers to take over. Belle, feeling humiliated at the thought of being rescued again, forces himself to stand and insists that he cannot let her save him this time. Determined to fight on his own, he charges at the Minotaur with all his strength, ready to prove himself. Meanwhile, Lily begs Bete to help Belle. Recognizing him as the same boy from before, Bete initially mocks him but then notices something remarkable. Belle's combat skills have significantly improved, and he's fighting at a level far beyond what Bete had seen before. Belle uses Firebolt without chanting, shocking everyone. In the heat of the battle, he manages to seize the Minotaur's massive sword and inflicts serious damage, weakening the creature. As the confrontation reaches its peak, Belle and the Minotaur charge at each other. Just when it seems like Belle is making a reckless move, he skillfully evades and delivers a fatal blow, stabbing the Minotaur in the head and repeatedly casting Firebolt until the monster explodes. The onlookers are astounded by Belle's victory and decide to check his skill status. They soon discover that all his abilities have reached S rank, leaving everyone in awe of his rapid growth. Afterward, Belle realizes he has leveled up to level 2 and is overjoyed by the discovery. Hestia examines his status and notes that he has acquired a new skill called Argonaut, derived from his aspiration to be a hero. Hestia prepares to attend the quarterly Denetis meeting, where gods assign titles to adventurers who have recently leveled up. Belle eagerly anticipates his new title and daydreams about it while Hestia is away. When Hestia returns, she informs him that his title is Little Rookie, much to his disappointment. Later, Belle meets Sir and Ryu at the tavern. Ryu advises him to steer clear of the 13th floor for now until he strengthens his party, as the monsters there are far more formidable than those on the upper levels. Belle starts thinking about potential party members when a disagreeable adventurer approaches, suggesting that Belle join his team of level 2 adventurers, but only if he hands over his female companions. Ryu, furious, confronts the sleazy adventurer, giving him a piece of her mind. A fight is about to break out, but the tavern owner intervenes and puts a stop to it before it escalates. Following this, Belle goes to Babel to find new armor but can't locate any pieces from his previous supplier, Welf Krazo. He decides to ask the merchant, and by coincidence, finds Welf himself arguing with the vendor about selling his products. Seeing Belle's interest, Welf eagerly shows him his latest creations and takes him aside to discuss directly. Welf offers to craft custom gear for Belle and expresses his desire to join Belle's party in the dungeon. Later, in the dungeon, Lily isn't happy about Welf joining them and is shocked to learn that he is from the Krazo family. She explains that the Krazo family, once renowned for making powerful magical weapons, lost their abilities and are now disgraced nobles. Belle is taken aback by this information, and Welf feels awkward. As they continue, monsters appear. Belle quickly takes down a few while Welf struggles with one. Belle notices his increased speed and stronger magic. His hand starts glowing, and just as he wonders about it, a group of adventurers rushes by, fleeing from an infant dragon. Lily, unaware, continues gathering magic stones. When she realizes the dragon is chasing her, Belle activates Firebolt, unleashing a massive beam that defeats the dragon, surprising him. Hestia later explains that his Argonaut skill enables him to perform heroic feats in dangerous situations. They discuss Welf, and Hestia mentions that although Welf can create magical items, he refuses to do so, despite the potential for great profit. Later, Belle meets with Welf, who invites him to his workshop to craft new equipment for him. At the workshop, Welf explains why he stopped making magical items while crafting a new weapon for Belle using the Minotaur materials from his last battle. Once completed, he names the weapon Ushiwakamaru, telling Belle it's his best work yet. The next day, the group ventures into the middle floors of the dungeon, marking Belle's first time there. After easily dispatching some monsters, they are suddenly attacked by a swarm of rabbit creatures. Overwhelmed by their numbers and strength, Belle realizes the middle floors are far more dangerous than he expected. Meanwhile, another group of adventurers from a different familia, fleeing from hellhounds, stumbles upon Belle's party surrounded by monsters and uses them as a distraction to escape. Belle and his team also begin to flee. As the monsters chase them, Belle turns and uses Firebolt, managing to take down several but leaving Welf injured. More monsters appear, and Belle remembers Lily's warnings about the middle floors. Just as the monsters close in, an earthquake collapses part of the dungeon, temporarily saving them. A hellhound then appears, ready to unleash its fiery breath. In the city, Hestia becomes worried when Belle's group doesn't return and heads to the guild to request a search party. Belle and his team survive the hellhound's attack thanks to the salamander wool armor that Einar recommended. As they search for an escape route, they reach a dead end. Welf suggests they leave him behind due to his injury, but Belle refuses. Lily proposes they descend to the 18th floor, a safe zone where monsters do not spawn. She suggests they could find higher-level adventurers there to help them get back to the surface. Welf and Belle are hesitant, but Lily explains they can use the dungeon's hidden paths. Meanwhile, Hestia meets with other gods and the adventurers who abandoned Belle's party. Just as they discuss the shortage of available search party members, Hermes and his subordinate Asufi arrive, offering their help. Asufi discreetly asks Hermes if he plans to enter the dungeon, which is forbidden. Hermes assures her it will remain a secret, but Hestia insists on joining them. Using Hermes' own words against him, she convinces him. They gather a search team, and Hestia reassures everyone that she can sense Belle is still alive. Later, Hermes asks Asufi if she can protect both him and Hestia. She hesitates but agrees to bring Ryu along as well. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Lily uses a foul-smelling bag to repel monsters. A hellhound appears and prepares to unleash its fiery breath, but Welf uses a magic ability to make it self-destruct. When the scent bag's effect wears off and a minotaur appears, Belle immediately attacks, landing powerful blows. When two more minotaurs appear, he grabs an axe and uses his Argonaut skill to cause the walls to collapse on the monsters, defeating them. The search party, consisting of 6 members, ventures into the dungeon. Hermes and Ryu demonstrate their prowess, swiftly eliminating any monsters in their path. They soon arrive at the site where the dungeon walls had collapsed on Belle and his team. Noticing the scene, Asufi speculates that Belle and his group might have descended to the 18th floor, a known safe zone, as descending is often easier than ascending. The party decides to head there. Meanwhile, Welf and Lily collapse from exhaustion, and Belle has to carry them as he heads towards the 18th floor. He jumps into a pit and lands on the 17th floor, facing the Great Wall of Sorrow. Realizing this is the lair of the floor boss Goliath, Belle runs with his unconscious companions, aiming for the 18th floor. The floor boss awakens, shattering the Great Wall of Sorrow, and nearly strikes Belle. He narrowly escapes the attack and leaps into the pit leading to the 18th floor. Exhausted, Belle collapses and sees a figure standing before him. He pleads for help for his friends before losing consciousness. When he wakes up, he is surprised to see Eyes and wonders why she is there. She explains that her familia stopped at the 18th floor while returning from their expedition. Belle soon spots Welf and Lily recovering, feeling relieved. Later, Belle and Eyes take a walk, and he notices a strange light that resembles sunlight. Curious about its source, since they are deep within the dungeon, he discovers a stunning array of crystals responsible for the illumination. Upon returning to his room, Belle is thrilled to see that Welf and Lily have regained consciousness. They gather for dinner, but a sudden noise draws Belle's attention. He is astonished to find Hestia, who excitedly tackles him to the ground. The others arrive soon after, and Belle is surprised to see them. Welf and Lily are still angry at the adventurers who use them as bait, despite Makoto's apology. Belle explains that he might have done the same if his party's lives were at stake, helping them to forgive and move on. Hestia delivers a message in a weapon to Welf, crafted by Hephaestus. That night, Belle encounters Eyes while admiring the crystals, and she offers to show him the town, surprising him with the revelation that there is a settlement within the dungeon. The next morning, they head to Rivera, a small town built by adventurers. As they explore the shops, some unsavory adventurers recognize Belle and become irritated. However, they quickly back off upon realizing he is friends with Eyes. Later, Hermes secretly meets Belle and asks to spend some time with him. He takes Belle to a high vantage point, where Belle realizes Hermes wanted to give him a view of the girls in their bathing area. Embarrassed, Belle tries to leave but falls into the water where the girls are bathing. Eyes sees him and, although embarrassed, doesn't think ill of him because she knows his intentions were pure. Belle quickly runs off, only to stumble upon Ryu bathing on the other side of the river. She is surprised but doesn't consider him a pervert, knowing he isn't bold enough to ogle girls. Later, Ryu takes Belle to the gravesite of her former familia to pay respects. She explains that her entire familia was killed when an enemy familia set a trap for them in the dungeon. In her grief and anger, she avenged them by eliminating the enemy familia, which put her on the guild's blacklist. Later that night, a group of jealous adventurers grumble about Belle's swift progress. progress. The next morning, Eyes informs Belle that she has been assigned to the first party and will be departing ahead of him. After she leaves, Belle heads to Hesja's place, only to find she has been kidnapped. He discovers a note instructing him to go to a specific location if he wants to rescue her. Alarmed, he rushes off, catching the attention of Welf, who wonders what is happening. Upon reaching the location, a man named Mord challenges Belle to a duel, with the condition that if Belle wins, he will get Hesja back. But if he loses, he must give up all his equipment. Mord activates an invisibility skill and begins to assault Belle, who struggles to see his opponent. Meanwhile, Hermes and Asufi observe from a distance as Hermes orchestrated the situation to test Belle's potential and expose him to the darker aspects of adventuring. Welf and his team arrive and engage in combat with Mord's men. Lily, disguised as a small animal, sneaks in and rescues Hesja from her captors. Welf's team quickly overpowers the other thugs, but Mord continues to dominate Belle. Gradually, Belle starts to sense Mord's presence and begins dodging his attacks, much to Mord's surprise. Belle finally lands a solid kick on Mord, who attempts to counterattack, but Hesja arrives and commands them to stop. When Mord refuses to listen, she uses her divine power to subdue him, bringing the fight to an end. Hesja, seizing the moment, jumps on Belle in excitement, giving him a playful hug. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the area, causing the crystals to crack as Goliath, a colossal monster, appears. The group quickly regroups and launches a coordinated attack, but their efforts seem ineffective as the monster resists all their assaults. Ryu realizes it must be a high-level monster due to its immense resilience. They continue their onslaught, trying to distract Goliath while the mages prepare their spells. Once the incantations are complete, they unleash a powerful magical attack that appears to destroy Goliath. However, to their shock, it regenerates almost instantly. The monster then delivers a powerful blow, causing the ground to quake and sending everyone sprawling. The battle continues fiercely, with Ryu delivering a series of rapid strikes, but Goliath's regenerative abilities heal the damage almost as soon as it is inflicted. Belle's hand begins to glow, and he releases a firebolt enhanced by his Argonaut skill, decapitating Goliath. Yet, the head regenerates immediately, and the floor boss retaliates with a massive slap aimed at Belle. Welf jumps in with a shield to absorb the blow, but both he and Belle are knocked unconscious. Hesja holds Belle's hand and starts reciting motivational phrases like Tony Robbins. Meanwhile, deep in his subconscious, Belle hears the voices of his friends but struggles to find the strength to stand. Hermes arrives and begins his own motivational speech, triggering memories of Belle's grandfather's teachings about becoming a hero. This rekindles Belle's determination to save his friends. With renewed resolve, he gets back on his feet and approaches the monster, weapon in hand. Ryu continues her ferocious attack with incredible speed, finally unleashing her ultimate move, Luminous Wind, which inflicts severe pain on Goliath. Welf follows up with his War God's Strike, attempting to trap Goliath in a gravity barrier, but the monster breaks free. Undeterred, Welf charges and unleashes a powerful attack called Pyro Moon, but the floor boss withstands it as well. Meanwhile, Belle has been charging up his Argonaut skill to its full potential. His entire body begins to glow as he races towards Goliath at incredible speed, delivering a devastating hero strike that deals significant damage. However, the monster starts to regenerate once again. Refusing to let it recover, Belle leaps onto Goliath and delivers the final blow with his Hesja knife, completely obliterating the monster. The group erupts in cheers and praise. Hermes declares that Belle, the last scion of Zeus lineage and a new hero of their time, will alter the course of history and shape the destiny of future adventurers. Belle and his team head to the local tavern to celebrate Welf's recent promotion to level 2. As they raise their glasses in a toast, Lily asks Welf if he plans to leave the group now that he has ranked up, pointing out that joining them was initially a means to an end. Belle feels a pang of sadness at the thought, but Welf quickly reassures him that their bond remains strong and they will continue adventuring together. Lily asks Belle about his own recent level up, and as he proudly responds, a short, spiteful adventurer who has been glaring at him from a distance approaches and starts mocking him. Lily and Welf advise Belle to ignore the provocations, but the obnoxious man continues to hurl insults at them and even demeans Hesja. Belle feels anger rising but manages to keep his cool. Welf, however, has had enough and smashes his cup over the guy's head, teaching him a lesson in respect. Welf then provocatively asks if anyone else wants a beating. A random adventurer steps up forward and quickly overpowers Welf before turning his attention to Belle. "I think, guys, he is the father of Bruce Lee." He lands several blows on Belle and then lifts him off the ground. The crowd gasps as they recognize the attacker as Hyacinthos from the Apollo Familia. Hyacinthos begins to strangle Belle, nearly choking the life out of him. Just in time, Ryu intervenes, rescuing Belle from Hyacinthos' grip and preventing further harm. Upon returning home, Hestia tends to Belle's injuries, applying a soothing cream to his bruises. She is surprised at how easily he was overpowered and scolds him for getting involved. Belle explains that the attackers were insulting her, and she advises him to ignore such provocations next time rather than ending up battered. When Hestia asks about the identity of the attacker, Belle tells her it was someone from the Apollo Familia. Her expression changes to one of concern as she realizes the potential ramifications of this encounter and what trouble it might bring their way. The next day, Belle meets up with Ives, and while they're together, two members of the Apollo Familia, Daphne and Cassandra, approach him and hand over a letter for his goddess. When Hestia opens it, she discovers it's an invitation from Apollo to a banquet. She is puzzled by the sudden invite and thinks back on her complicated history with Apollo. They get ready and head to the banquet. Upon arriving, they greet Hermes and his companion. Apollo soon makes a grand entrance with his followers. Belle spots Hyacinthos, the man who had beaten him up, and feels a wave of anxiety. After Apollo's welcoming speech, Belle sits quietly while Hestia devours the food enthusiastically. Hermes notices Belle's discomfort and suggests he talk to Apollo. During their conversation, Freya makes a dramatic entrance, drawing everyone's attention. As she passes by, Hermes starts talking about her, but Hestia quickly gets jealous and stops Belle from looking at Freya. Freya notices the interaction and approaches them, provocatively asking Belle if he will spend time with her that night. Hestia sharply intervenes, causing Freya to leave. This leads to a tense moment between Hestia and Loki, which Hermes observes with interest. Noting the dynamic between Belle and Ives. Feeling overwhelmed, Belle steps outside for some fresh air and sees Hyacinthos having a suspicious conversation with another man but decides to ignore it when Hermes comes to talk to him. During their chat, Hermes spots Ives and suggests that Belle ask her to dance. Belle, flustered, admits he's never danced before because he's too shy. Hermes then calls out to Ives, suggesting she dance with Belle instead, putting Belle on the spot by claiming he had already promised another girl a dance earlier. With no way out, Belle nervously agrees to dance with Ives, despite his lack of experience. Belle and Ives begin dancing, almost stumbling at first as it's both their first time, but soon they find their rhythm and dance gracefully as if they've been doing it for years. A few minutes later, Apollo approaches them and brings up the fight from the previous day, accusing Belle of starting it. Hestia objects angrily, but Apollo suddenly announces a challenge to the Hestia Familia for a war game, shocking everyone. He declares that if the Apollo Familia wins, he will take Belle for himself. Hestia refuses the challenge and quickly leaves with Belle. The next day, only the editor knows, guys, what happened between them on last night. As Belle prepares to head to the dungeon, they are shocked to find all the members of the Apollo Familia surrounding their home, ready to take Belle by force. Apollo initiates the attack, and Belle quickly flees with Hestia, carrying her as he runs while the attackers chase them. They soon reach a dead end, and Belle leaps onto a roof. However, escape seems impossible as Cassandra and Daphne block his way. The two girls advise him to give up, explaining that Apollo never gives up on anyone he desires until he has them. They share how they too were relentlessly pursued by Apollo until they surrendered. Daphne urges Belle to surrender, but he defiantly tells her he doesn't take advice from fools and uses his firebolt spell to escape. As Daphne prepares to chase after him, Cassandra hesitates, feeling uneasy about the situation due to a prophetic dream indicating they are targeting the wrong person. Daphne dismisses Cassandra's concerns about her visions, determined to catch Belle. Meanwhile, Welf and Lily wait for Belle to arrive but soon suspect something is wrong since he is never late for their adventures. They overhear people gossiping about how Apollo instigated a conflict with the Hestia Familia, which shocks them. Ives also hears about the attack on Belle but is advised by her Familia not to intervene to avoid the appearance of the Loki Familia aiding the Hestia Familia. Belle and Hestia continue fleeing, with Belle doing everything he can to protect her. As they run, Hestia notices a familiar emblem on one of the attackers' clothes, which surprises her. Hyacinthos suddenly appears and attacks Belle, dealing significant damage as Belle struggles to keep up with his speed. Hyacinthos is resentful that his master favors Belle despite his own loyalty. Belle, determined and relying on his inner strength, charges at Hyacinthos but is quickly overpowered. Just as Hyacinthos is about to deliver a final blow, a sniper fires arrows from a distance, saving Belle. The sniper continues to provide cover, allowing Belle and Hestia to escape. However, Belle is too weak to move quickly, so they decide to rest for a moment. They are soon ambushed by another attacker. As the Apollo Familia prepares to continue their assault, the Takemikazuchi Familia arrives and starts defending Belle and Hestia. In the midst of the battle, Welf and Lily appear with Mikoto, who pours healing potions on Belle, instantly recovering his strength. Mikoto urges Belle to run while they handle the enemies. Though initially hesitant, Belle eventually agrees and flees with Hestia and his team. As they escape, Belle and Hestia encounter another group of enemies. Welf and Lily engage them, allowing Belle and Hestia to continue their flight. Welf unleashes powerful attacks while Lily supports him, providing cover. Lily jumps onto a roof and, as she runs across, she suddenly encounters Xannies from her Familia. Xannies is shocked to see that she is still alive. After a brief conversation, Lily changes her mind and leaves with Xannies, leaving Welf to fend for himself. Welf, confused by the sudden turn of events, recognizes the emblem on his opponent's clothing as belonging to the Soma Familia. Meanwhile, Hestia and Belle manage to find a hiding spot to catch their breath. While they are resting, Hestia confesses her feelings to Belle, saying she likes him and would love to spend forever with him, which takes him by surprise. When she asks what he thinks about her, Belle, caught off guard, replies that he loved the last night ride. "You are so amazing." "Sorry guys, I mean," he thinks in his mind. He replies, "You are so cute." They are suddenly hit by an explosion and have to flee once more. Hestia directs Belle towards the Apollo Familia's stronghold. Confused by what seems like a risky move, Belle follows Hestia inside. There, Hestia boldly announces that they accept Apollo's War Game challenge, much to Apollo's delight and the excitement of his followers. After leaving, they run into Welf, who updates them about Lily's situation. Shocked, Belle immediately wants to rescue her, but Hestia insists that he focus on training to surpass every fighter in the Apollo Familia while she handles the search for Lily. Belle agrees and seeks out Aiz and Tiona to request their help in preparing for the upcoming war game. Meanwhile, Xannies drags Lily back to the Soma Familia and presents her to Soma, proclaiming that the missing girl has returned and is ready to serve the Familia. Lily interrupts, pleading with Soma to let her leave, which irritates Xannies. He demands a hefty compensation for her departure, citing all the benefits she received from the Familia. Lily, feeling desperate and poor, begs Soma, but he leaves the matter to Xannies. Xannies imprisons Lily and reminds her that he recalled the Soma Familia troops based on her promise to return and serve them again. Lily, desperate, asks what she can do, and Xannies hints at her rare transformation magic, leaving her stunned. Following this, Hestia meets with the Takemikazuchi Familia to plan a rescue for Lily. They question her decision, arguing that they should be focusing on the upcoming war game instead. Hestia explains that Belle cannot perform at his best while worrying about Lily, so they need to save her to ensure he can concentrate fully on his training. Meanwhile, a Denatus meeting is underway to discuss the terms of the war game. But Hestia is noticeably absent, leading some to speculate that she might be trying to avoid the challenge. However, she arrives just in time, and the meeting begins. Hestia proposes that each Familia should select one representative since her Familia only has one member. Apollo objects, accusing her of laziness as a goddess, and calls for a vote among the other gods. Hermes randomly picks a vote, and Hestia is stunned to learn they have chosen a siege battle. Apollo is delighted and declares that the Hestia Familia will be the attackers, arguing that they can't defend a castle with just one member. Hermes suggests that the Hestia Familia be allowed to recruit external support, but Apollo refuses. However, the other gods side with Hermes, forcing Apollo to concede, with the stipulation that Hestia's Familia can only get one supporter, and it must be from a member of a Familia outside the city. After the meeting, Hestia's team asks if she knows anyone who could help. She replies that there is indeed someone outside the city who can assist them. That night, Xannies has a conversation with Lily about how she will generate revenue for the Familia using her powers. Suddenly, a security guard reports that a group of intruders, led by a seemingly naive goddess, has breached the premises. Xannies coldly orders their elimination. Lily pleads with him, but he dismisses her, threatening to force her into compliance with the god's wine, which shocks her. After Xannies leaves, Lily desperately thinks of a way to escape and save her friends. To her surprise, the security guard tosses her the keys, telling her to do whatever she wants. Stunned, she quickly unlocks her cell and rushes to find her friends. She finds them and begs them to leave immediately, but Hestia insists that Belle needs Lily to win the war game, which astonishes her. Filled with emotion, Lily goes to see Soma, questioning why Belle would need someone like her. She begs Soma to save her friend, and in response, he prepares the divine wine. He tells her that if she can repeat her plea after drinking the wine, he will grant her request. Determined, Lily drinks the wine and experiences a euphoric state, seeing visions of the heavens. However, she quickly sees Belle's face, which brings her back to reality. She continues to beg Soma, who is taken aback by her determination. Moved by her plea, Soma decides to help, disregarding Xanni's objections. When Xanni's attempts to retaliate against Lily, he is stopped. Grateful, Lily thanks Soma and expresses her wish to join the Hestia Familia, to which Soma agrees. Later, after joining the Hestia Familia, Lily expresses her heartfelt thanks to everyone who helped rescue her. The other rescuers soon depart for their respective destinations. The next day, as Take Mikazuchi paces anxiously, pondering how to assist Belle, Mikoto approaches him, requesting permission to join the Hestia Familia. Walf also speaks to his own Familia, expressing his intention to join Hestia's group. Meanwhile, Hermes and Sir approach Ryu, asking her to join Belle in the war game, as she meets the necessary criteria. Belle, on the other hand, trains rigorously under Aiza's mentorship. Fully prepared for the war game, Belle returns to his Familia and sets out immediately. As he leaves, other adventurers cheer him on, and Sir runs up to his vehicle to give him a pendant she calls a good luck charm. That night, Cassandra tries to warn Daphne about another troubling dream she had regarding the war game, but Daphne dismisses her concerns. Meanwhile, a young boy manages to sneak into the city just before the gates close, dragging a large object on a cart. Upon seeing this, Cassandra ominously remarks that Apollo's fate is now sealed. The next morning, as preparations for the competition are underway, Apollo approaches Hestia with a sneer, asking if she's given Belle his final farewell. Hestia stays silent, refusing to engage. Hermes activates the live broadcast across the city, signaling the start of the war game. Some members of the Apollo Familia smugly believe that the Hestia Familia will delay their attack since they have 3 days, but they are quickly proven wrong. Ryu takes the initiative, launching a surprise assault by descending from a high vantage point and attacking with powerful Krazo magic weapons, shocking everyone. She inflicts significant damage, and then the little boy from the previous day rushes to inform the Apollo soldiers that Hyacinthos ordered half of their 100 soldiers to engage Ryu outside. Although doubtful, the soldiers follow the directive and head out to confront her. They manage to destroy her magic weapons, but Ryu reveals her elven prowess, drawing a wooden sword and teaching them a harsh lesson. Meanwhile, as the soldiers are distracted, Mikoto slips into the city unnoticed. She encounters a muscular guard but swiftly overcomes him, activating her War God's strike spell, which creates a powerful gravitational pull that immobilizes the enemies. Hermes, watching the battle unfold, realizes that someone is providing misleading information to the Apollo soldiers, causing their disarray. Apollo is already in shock from the unexpected turn of events, and his astonishment doubles when he sees the same little boy from yesterday opening the city gate. Walf and Belle appear, praising Lily, who had shape-shifted into the boy to deceive the Apollo Familia soldiers. Belle and Walf charge into the city, heading straight for the castle where the general is stationed. As they sprint towards the castle, Walf casts a potent spell that incapacitates their adversaries, allowing Belle to push forward. Belle soon reaches the floor just below the general's quarters. Hyacinthos, trying to psych himself up despite Cassandra's warnings to retreat, is taken by surprise when Belle activates his Argonaut skill and unleashes a firebolt, causing the ground to quake. Belle swiftly engages Hyacinthos, whose speed is no match for Belle's enhanced agility. Belle shatters Hyacinthos' sword and prepares to deliver the final strike. Cassandra intervenes, holding Belle back to protect Hyacinthos. Seizing the opportunity, Hyacinthos conjures a ring of fire. Lily quickly intervenes, pushing Cassandra away, allowing Belle to evade the fiery attack. The ring of fire circles back towards Belle, who attempts to counter it with another firebolt, but to no avail. The ring strikes him, severing the good luck charm pendant from his neck, and he collapses, completely drained, shocking everyone around. Defying exhaustion, Belle rises to his feet and drops his knife. Hyacinthos, armed with a dagger, charges at him, intending to finish him off. In a flash, Belle recalls Aiza's advice from a previous encounter and channels his inner hero. He deftly dodges the attack and delivers a powerful punch, knocking Hyacinthos unconscious and securing his victory. After defeating Apollo, the Hestia Familia takes possession of all his belongings, including his mansion, and makes it their new headquarters. Hestia creates a childlike sketch for their new emblem, which looks like it was drawn by a third grader. Following this, Lily bids a heartfelt farewell to Soma. The Familia celebrates their victory and Belle's promotion to level 3 with a toast in their newly acquired mansion. Hestia spends lavishly on renovations, fulfilling the wishes of each member. Mikoto enjoys a hot sauna, Welf is thrilled with his new blacksmith workshop, and Lily worries about Hesja's extravagant spending. Hesja, unconcerned, even suggests hiring maids, which excites Belle with the prospect of a harem. Hesja, becoming jealous, quickly retracts the idea, stating she won't give him the chance to stray. Belle hears a commotion at the gate and finds Cassandra and Daphne there. Cassandra asks for her pillow, and after Belle retrieves it, the two girls whisper to each other, making him curious. They mention they'll see him the next day and inform him about Hesja's recruitment notices posted around the city. The following day, a variety of people arrive, interested in joining the Familia. While Hesja enthusiastically addresses the crowd, Mikoto searches for her clothes and stumbles upon a hidden letter. Reading it, she rushes to Hesja and reveals that the Familia is 200 million volleys in debt. The audience flees upon hearing this, leaving Belle stunned as he realizes the debt is due to his Hesja knife. Overwhelmed, he faints from the shock. Following this, Hesja apologizes to everyone while Belle is still recovering, explaining that she kept the debt a secret but promises to handle it on her own, despite having no income. Embarrassed, she leaves the room. After a while, Belle wakes up, and he and Welf go to the bathhouse. While bathing, they start talking about the girls in their group. Unbeknownst to them, the girls are eavesdropping. Hearing Belle's kind words, Hesja gets so excited that she tries climbing over to meet him for some plot development. During dinner, Hesja, having reconsidered her decision to shoulder the debt alone, asks for everyone's help. As they enjoy their meal, there's a knock at the door. Mikoto opens it to find Chigusa, who whispers something to her, leaving Mikoto shocked. Later that night, Mikoto excuses herself early and sneaks out, but Belle and the others, having noticed her suspicious behavior, decide to follow her. Mikoto meets Chigusa, and they head to the Pleasure Quarter, a place where pleasure workers are more common than clothing shops. Belle and his team are surprised and curious about why the girls are there. As they continue tailing them, some beautiful workers advertise their services to Belle, but Lily acts protectively like an elder sister, shielding him. However, Lily and Welf pick up the pace upon realizing they are losing sight of Mikoto and Chigusa, leaving Belle behind, who is momentarily caught by a worker. Moments later, Welf and Lily catch up with Mikoto and Chigusa and ask what's going on. Mikoto reveals that they had heard a close childhood friend was now working there, and they came to see for themselves what had led her to choose such a difficult path. Meanwhile, Belle manages to slip away from the lady but gets lost in the maze-like streets. As he navigates through the city, he spots a renard, a fox-type animal person, working at a brothel and wonders why she is there. Just then, he runs into Hermes, who is clearly indulging in the city's pleasures. Hermes, not wanting to be seen, quickly tells Belle to keep quiet about his presence, and, with a mischievous grin, hands Belle a small vial of aphrodisiac, suggesting it will make his evening more enjoyable. Hermes then disappears into the crowd. Still reeling from the encounter, Belle tries to find his way out but instead bumps into Aisha. She teasingly suggests they spend some time together, pressing him against her provocatively. As Belle struggles to extricate himself, a few more women approach. One of them recognizes him from the war game, instantly making him the center of attention. They start bickering over who gets to keep him company for the night. The women escort Belle to Ishtar's domain, the goddess of love. They take him to a waiting area, explaining that all the private rooms are currently occupied. As they begin to flirt and hint at the indecent things they plan to do with him, he excites by thinking about the night. A ugly fat-ass bitch named Phryne arrives. Her creepy demeanor and unsettling grin make Belle realize just how dire his situation is. As Phryne expresses her own interest in Belle, he understands he's in deep trouble, and his anxiety reaches new heights. At this moment, only God saves him. Comment guys ripped for the Belle. As the ladies argue about who gets to entertain Belle, he takes the opportunity to slip away and runs for his life with them hot on his trail. He sprints with all his might and soon finds himself in the room of the renard he saw earlier. She is removing her clothes, and guys, you all knows what happened when the clothes are off. By the way, she is mistaking him for a customer. She introduces herself as Haruheim and begins to make advances, ready to seduce him. However, Haruheim is shocked when she realizes he is not a customer. She immediately apologizes and asks why he is there. Belle quickly explains his predicament, and Haruheim sympathizes with him. She offers him refuge until dawn and promises to show him a secret way out of the Pleasure Quarter. Grateful for her help, Belle decides to stay hidden in her room. hoping to escape safely with her assistance. Meanwhile, Hermes delivers a package to Ishtar. During their conversation, she probes him about Freya's vulnerabilities, but he is reluctant to divulge much. However, he soon finds himself enchanted by her seductive dance. Back in Haruheim's room, she and Belle engage in a conversation and discover they both enjoy reading hero stories. Haruheim confesses her sorrow, saying she feels unworthy of such tales because of her life as a courtesan. She believes that someone in her position symbolizes the downfall of a hero. Belle is left speechless by her honesty. At dawn, she keeps her promise and guides him to a hidden exit from the Pleasure District. Hermes, feeling remorseful for letting Freya's secret slip, realizes the consequences of his actions. Ishtar, now determined to use Belle as a tool against Freya, sets her plans in motion. When Belle returns to his familia, Hestia reprimands him for spending the night in the pleasure quarter and for having an aphrodisiac in his possession. Belle explains the situation, but Hestia still assigns him to environmental cleaning duties as punishment. While carrying out his tasks and reflecting on the mess he's in, Mikoto, Welf, and Lily approach to apologize for their part in it. Belle asks Mikoto what she was doing in the Pleasure District, and she explains she went to check on a friend who is a Renard. Belle is surprised and asks if her friend's name is Haruheim, shocking Mikoto. He recounts his encounter with Haruheim, and Mikoto realizes the rumor she heard was true. Belle becomes contemplative, considering Haruheim's predicament, but Lily interrupts his thoughts, warning him not to even think about trying to rescue Haruheim. She argues that their familia is already under strain after the war game. Mikoto and Welf agree, acknowledging the difficulties and dangers involved in such an endeavor. Following this, Belle visits Aina at the guild to inquire about the Ishtar familia. Aina explains everything she knows about them, adding that the Ishtar familia is more dangerous than they appear, and warning Belle to be cautious around them. Reflecting on Lily's warnings, Belle heads back home and decides to visit the library to pick up a book on hero stories. As he reads, he recalls Haruheim's words about her predicament. That night, while Haruheim waits for her next customer, Mikoto appears and calls out to her. Haruheim, pretending not to recognize Mikoto, stands up to leave. The next day, Mikoto tells Belle about how Haruheim ignored her, and then shares their childhood memories, explaining why she is determined to save her. As they talk, they notice Hermes spying on them. When Hermes realizes he's been seen, he greets them and tries to leave, but they stop him. Belle asks if Hermes knows much about the Pleasure Quarter. They head to a nearby bar to discuss, and Hermes suggests that they could purchase Haruheim since she is highly valued. However, his demeanor changes when he learns that Haruheim is a Renard. Hermes, reluctant but honest, reveals that the package he delivered to Ishtar contained a ritual stone. Belle and Mikoto, clueless about its significance, are still determined to save Haruheim. Hermes, feeling the weight of his revelation, warns them about the dangers but knows they are set on their mission. Meanwhile, in the Ishtar familia's mansion, Ishtar commands her subordinates to capture Belle in order to provoke Freya. In the meantime, Belle and his friends venture into the dungeon, aiming to defeat as many monsters as possible to gather funds to save Haruheim. Unbeknownst to them, Ishtar's subordinates are lying in wait. With Haruheim's magical assistance, Aisha activates a powerful enchantment and isolates Belle as he fights monsters. She launches a series of rapid attacks, surprising Belle with her speed and agility. He struggles to dodge, realizing she might be as strong as he is. Aisha soon overpowers him, knocking him down and preparing to deliver a fatal blow. At that moment, Mikoto arrives just in time to defend him. Together, Belle and Mikoto confront Aisha, but her combat skills are superior. She easily deflects their attacks and lands a heavy kick on Belle, sending him sprawling. Belle quickly recovers and charges again, but Aisha overpowers him once more, slamming him against the cave walls before knocking him out. In his weakened state, Belle notices Mikoto unconscious. As he tries to regain his strength, Phryne appears and delivers a devastating blow, knocking him out completely. Haruheim, realizing that Belle was their target, feels a deep sadness. Phryne drags Belle away and locks him in a hidden chamber, planning to satisfy her desires later. Haruheim overhears Aisha instructing the others to find Belle before Phryne gets to him and decides to act. She sneaks to Mikoto's cell and secretly hands her the keys. Phryne approaches Belle, her intentions clear. She taunts him and grabs him, but realizing he is not responsive, she leaves to fetch a potion to change that. Recognizing the urgency, Belle tries to free himself, but Haruheim arrives in time to release him. She leads him through a hidden passage, helping him escape the dire situation. Meanwhile, Mikoto manages to escape and searches for Belle. She stumbles upon a strange room containing a book that describes a ritual involving a special stone. The ritual, set to occur on the night of the full moon, requires Haruheim as a sacrifice. Meanwhile, as Haruheim leads Belle through the secret passage, he expresses concern for her safety, but she assures him she has accepted whatever punishment may come. Belle then reveals their plan to buy her freedom, bringing tears to her eyes as she realizes how much they care for her. At the same time, Hestia meets with the Takemikazuchi Familia, explaining the situation with Belle and Mikoto. When Hestia mentions the strange stone Belle talked about, Takemikazuchi is shocked and explains that the stone grants the user access to powerful Renard magic known as Jachiju. He adds that the ritual, scheduled for the night of the full moon, is happening that very night. After leading Belle to safety, Haruheim prepares to return to the pleasure quarter. Suddenly, Mikoto arrives, revealing her knowledge of the stone and the ritual, shocking Haruheim. Just then, Aisha appears and grabs Haruheim. Mikoto questions Aisha's motives, and Aisha reveals that the Ishtar Familia plans to use the ritual to wage war against the Freya Familia. Belle, trying to inspire courage, quotes some motivational sayings, but Aisha dismisses him with cutting insults, damaging his confidence. She orders her followers to capture him, but Mikoto pulls Belle away, and they escape. They find a hiding place, but Belle feels ashamed for running instead of fighting like a hero. When the Ishtar girls tire of searching, Mikoto tells Belle it's time to leave. However, Belle insists on going back to save Haruheim, despite the risk of igniting a war between the Hestia and Ishtar familias. Seeing his determination, Mikoto agrees to help. Before they split up, Mikoto hands Belle 2 signal flares, green for successfully rescuing Haruheim and red for failure. Belle instructs her to find and destroy the ritual stone, believing it might change Haruheim's fate. They part ways, and Belle begins distracting the Ishtar Familia by taking down their guards to buy time for Mikoto. Hestia, her Familia members, and the Takemikazuchi Familia use the distraction to enter the city. Meanwhile, Mikoto heads for the Hanging Gardens where Haruheim is being held hostage. Freya receives a report about Belle causing chaos and informs Aisha, who immediately starts preparing for the ritual with her cohorts while Freya goes to confront Belle. Freya suddenly appears before Belle, unleashing powerful attacks that overwhelm him. He tries to counterattack with Firebolt, but it proves ineffective. Freya continues to pummel him, eventually knocking him towards where Aisha is waiting. Just as Freya and Aisha prepare to finish him off, Ishtar intervenes, stopping them. Ishtar dismisses her subordinates and attempts to charm Belle with her love magic. To her shock, it has no effect on him. Curious, she checks his status report and is even more astonished to discover that Belle possesses the ability Lyris Freeze, which renders him immune to divine charms and enchantments. Meanwhile, Freya receives a report about Belle being held by the Ishtar Familia and decides to see the situation for herself. Belle manages to escape, leaving Ishtar frustrated that she couldn't have her way with him. Haruheim is led to the top of the Hanging Gardens for the ritual. Mikoto launches a sudden attack, urging Haruheim to flee. Haruheim, however, feels unworthy of rescue and refuses. An enemy ambushes Mikoto, throwing her off the tower. She fires a red signal flare, signaling her failure, but she tenaciously climbs back up. Aisha and the others begin the ritual, but Mikoto disrupts the process. Samira intervenes, knocking Mikoto to the ground. Aisha, knowing Belle is nearby, taunts him to come out and save his friend. As the ritual progresses, Mikoto remembers her training. She charges at Samira, unleashing a powerful attack that causes an explosion, and leaps off the tower, leaving Belle to handle the situation. Aisha, seeing the chaos, orders her subordinates to eliminate Belle. Belle, acting swiftly, rushes in, seizes the dagger containing the ritual stone, and throws it away, shattering it. Meanwhile, the Freya Familia decides to unleash chaos in Ishtar's territory, causing members of the Ishtar Familia to panic, thinking the devil himself has arrived. Ishtar becomes fearful, suspecting that Freya might be behind the sudden turmoil. Freya, on the other hand, eagerly anticipates a confrontation with Ishtar. Furious that Belle has disrupted the ritual, Phryne croaks like a toad before launching a powerful attack that knocks a minor god to the ground. Haruheim activates her divine powers, imbuing Belle with enhanced strength. Belle suddenly finds himself on equal footing with Phryne, and the two engage in a fierce battle. At the same time, Otter and Freya's other subordinates are on their way to block all escape routes, ensuring that no one can flee the ensuing chaos. On their way, Otter spots Mikoto lying wounded and pours a healing potion on her, restoring her health. As the battle between Belle and Phryne intensifies, Belle manages to land a strike on her face, enraging her further. Phryne retaliates with increased ferocity, but Belle, empowered by Haruheim's magic, delivers a crushing blow that sends her plummeting to the ground. Belle then turns his attention to Aisha, who stands between him and Haruheim. As the effects of the level boost wear off, Bel and Aisha engage in an intense and grueling fight. Meanwhile, Ishtar, realizing the dire situation, attempts to escape in a panic. However, she finds her path blocked by Freya. Desperate, Ishtar sends her subordinates to attack, but Freya easily charms them, causing them to switch sides. Terrified, Ishtar tries to flee in the opposite direction. The fight between Bel and Aisha continues, though Aisha seems more focused on taunting than fighting. After a series of intense exchanges, they both unleash their ultimate techniques, causing their weapons to shatter. Bel quickly follows up with a powerful firebolt, knocking Aisha out instantly. Ishtar, reaching the edge of the building, finds herself out of options. In a final, desperate move, she tries to attack Freya, but Freya effortlessly dodges and smacks Ishtar in the face, sending her plummeting off the building. Ishtar crashes to the ground and is instantly sent to Nirvana, never to return to the lower world. Bel finally rescues Haruheim and reunites with his familia. Meanwhile, the Kingdom of Rakia launches repeated attacks on Aurario but fails in every battle, frustrating the kingdom's general. Back at the Hestia familia home, Hestia catches Bel and Haruheim acting affectionately and becomes jealous. She calls a familia meeting and proposes a new rule forbidding any flirting between male and female members, except with the goddess. Lily finds this rule absurd, pointing out that mortals should be allowed to love each other just as they love deities. Hestia, seeking reassurance, asks Bel how he would feel if a goddess confessed her love to him. Clueless about her true intentions, Bel responds that he would refuse, feeling unworthy of a goddess's affection. Embarrassed and angry, Hestia storms off, leaving Bel bewildered. Following this, some folks tend to the wounded soldiers of the Kingdom of Rakia. Meanwhile, a dubious merchant demonstrates the quality of his war weapons by testing them on tomatoes. Frustrated by his repeated losses to Aurario, the general of Rakia decides to take matters into his own hands. He plans to kidnap a god from Aurario to force their surrender, and Bel sets his sights on Hestia. While searching for Hestia, he encounters some single gods who offer him relationship advice, hoping to distract him. Meanwhile, Hestia is on her way out of the city with a gate to carry some bags of potato snacks. The general and his men ambush and capture her. Bel soon learns that his goddess has been kidnapped. He, along with Eyes and Isfi, sets out to rescue her. They quickly catch up with the cowardly general. While the general prepares to fight Eyes, Bel sneaks off to find Hestia. Just as he reaches her, she slips and falls off a cliff. Bel leaps after her, and they both land in a stream. They are rescued by villagers and taken to the mayor's house in a mountain village. Eyes saves them from the water, but Hestia develops a fever. Bel tends to her. The next day, while exploring the village, Bel discovers a shrine with a black dragon scale. He is surprised to learn that the villagers worship the dragon scale because it keeps monsters away, as they are too afraid to approach it. Bel muses over how the same dragon that once destroyed a nation now protects this village, but Eyes remains skeptical of such tales. Returning to his room, Bel is startled to find the old mayor hovering over Hestia. The mayor asks to speak with Bel and shares his tragic story. He once loved a goddess deeply but failed to protect her. She was killed while trying to save him and was summoned back to heaven. The mayor has lived in regret ever since. He advises Bel to protect Hestia to avoid the same fate and regrets. Later that night, taking the advice he received from the mayor and the gods to heart, Bel decides to treat Hestia with more care and respect, catering to her wishes. As they share a dance, Lena comes rushing in to report that her father is on his deathbed. Bel and Hestia quickly head to the mayor's room to spend his final moments with him. Hestia comforts him, assuring him that he will reunite with his beloved goddess in the afterlife. After the mayor passes, Bel meets with Hestia to ask if the late mayor will truly reunite with his goddess in heaven. Hestia explains that it might be difficult, as souls return to a pure white state when they ascend to heaven, losing their memories and connections. This leaves Bel questioning the love between mortals and gods, as mortals die and leave the immortal gods behind, causing great pain. However, Hestia reassures him that she will always be with him. Even if death separates them, she promises to come looking for him, no matter how long it takes. They pay their last respects to the late mayor, and then return to Aurario, strengthened by their experiences and the bonds they've reaffirmed. That's it for today's video, guys. Watch the following video and I will see you in the next one.